If you think you can have a relationship in the 21st century, you're delusional.
Why is love so hard to find in this day and age?
At 40 years old, I don't believe in love.
I feel like nowadays a lot of people think true love doesn't exist. Do you think there's a problem with our generation and our society?
Maybe the reason why love seems impossible is because the love you and I know is not love itself, but some kind of social construct. Maybe the reason why togetherness constantly fails, no matter where around the world, is because certain stuff are being smuggled in and away from the concept, and it is in fact impossible. Take for instance, the normalcy that when two people falls in love, for their coming togetherness to pass and depict as love or anything commendable, it means they have to first be together, if not till eternity, for as long as the two of them lives. When biologically this lame feeling of intense romantic love lasts only about 18 months to at best 3 years, how then do you think people are supposed to keep going when the 18 months 3 years biology quota are passed? And that is not to say people who date and stay married for long periods are necessarily in pretense and not in love. They are most likely in love, the socially constructed love, of course. You know, as much as the feeling of love is inherently biological and natural, its social orchestration is not. It is particularly calculative. If any one of you had been in love, you know, that kind of love where you don't expect anything from the other person, and the only thing you are, or maybe were aware of at the time, was your own feelings and emotion, and not a lot about the other person, because it is love. Love only ever gives. You do not expect. You know, that kind of love where who and what the other person is does not really matters to you, because unconsciously you are intoxicated. Okay, you do not care about anything else other than the surging feelings in your chest when you are with or away from this person. I want to ask, how long does it typically last? And not to be highly poetic, every one of us must have had times when we had been in love, and can attest to the fact that in early stages of every romantic love relationship, there is usually, if not always, okay, the presence of craving and moderate, if not extreme, obsession. This which fades as time goes on. For a lot of people who are in fact great lovers, since I quote, people who are capable of staying rational in love are not capable of love. So yeah, when these people fall in love, they somehow lose every rationality, and no matter how unreasonable their union and who they are with may appear to the outside world, they could care less. Okay, they tend to lose the ability to internalize norms in form of maybe physical appearance, status, level, or whatever, into assessing the other person, and that is due to no other reason than they are in love. If the most rational and the smartest person you know is in fact capable of love, there's a tendency you might start, you know, reassessing your view about them, because actual feeling of love involves intense emotional vulnerability and irrationality. But usually, how long have you seen anyone stay madly in love? All the intensity, irrationality, vulnerability wears off in many, even as early as the first few months, and in others where there is little or not so much to worry about in respect to social expectations, a couple of years or so. Many people manage to stay married and together in relationship regardless, and you will often see old couples or just people who had managed to stay together for long periods display or maybe depict some kind of romance too. Or it is just normal to see two people who had been together for long period, even in the presence of visible disordinance, and assume it is love. Whatever the case may be, what matters is these people managed to stay together despite the intrinsic impediments which had kept many others from doing the same. And that is more reason to be certain that any coming and staying togetherness that transcends the quota of 18 months, 3 years fraction has nothing to do with intense and novel surges of butterflies in the belly feelings, aka love, in its natural form. Because many of those that failed to stay together had felt this surginess, haven't they? Why can't they stay together then? Does it make sense? Like, if it is love that keeps the people that manage to proceed to marriage and all of that together, why has it not done the same and kept the other group of people floating as well? It cannot, because it did not get the work done. Other things are culturally, strategically, individually, and most importantly, intentionally put in place for the togetherness of this former group, whereas love in its natural form needs absolutely nothing to be put in place for it to manifest. When Ellie Fisher, a biological anthropologist, asserts that the capacity for romantic love is woven firmly into the fabrics of the human brain, and that the urge to love and being in love is a part of the human nature, it was because series of empirical tests have been done on the human brain, which came out and draw that love rather is a feelings that in fact hijacks. That is, it is an emotion that hijacks the mind. So you mean to say things need or are supposed to be put in place for something that in fact takes over all on its own? Of course you don't mean to say that. Love exists in its natural form and in the how it is supposed to be form. And the reason I'm stressing this is because when relationship fails, usually people tend to blame one person or the other one for it, because no one really wants to accept or understand that love is not all that complex, neither is it that mid. Ironic. And because they do not understand the concept of love and typically spend more time not actually being in love, because of course the presence of the fear of loss, which if properly examined is less biological, restrain them from actually being present when in relationship, thereby making them incapable of experiencing love in its actual sense. And this makes it very possible for people to point fingers and implore certain terms like heartbreak, hate, embarrass, and others which are inexistent in the presence of love when relationship fails. The truth is, if you've ever truly loved anyone, you are totally incapable of hating them. If ever your relationship had went a path different than you have wished or hoped or imagined, and you had believed you hate or hated the other person or wished bad of them, you never loved them. It is normal to be disappointed, but actual love works outside of expectation. You, without knowing, expect nothing out of your union. Even if you wish for a rest of life spent with this significant other, you are, however, swept away in the moment, because love, the moment you start questioning, expecting, analyzing, it loses its magic. And it is why it is hard or almost impossible for people to, in fact, stay in love for a long period of time, because over time expectations arises. We start to consider and rationalize actions all to fit into how things are supposed to be between us and the significant other. And that is not to say in every long-term unions love is absent. In one of these biological anthropologists scanning into the brain of people who claim to still be madly in love with their long-time partner, activities shown in their brain are very similar to that shown in the brain of individuals who are as newly in love as 7 months, save for the regions associated with anxiety, which had in fact been replaced in people in long-term partnerships with calmness. This which draws a conclusion that since there is no particular combination of personality that leads to long-term romance, it has to be positive illusion. In the other word, love blindness, which is to say partners who continue to stay madly in love over time are people who continues to see their significant other just how they've seen them the very first time and over the course of the first few weeks and months of their union, and that point no other reasons again than much had not been done to their togetherness. Not so much alterations, which is typically inevitable as romantic love relationship progress, had been done to their union. Not to rule out love blindness, that is the ability to self-deceive oneself into believing that one partner is exactly how and who they should be, occasionally occurs to one person of the two in many romantic love relationships, while the other may not be as delusional and be conscious of reality, this which is likely to be a probable impediment to the union. Which makes me want to examine the typical reality of when romantic love relationship fails. If in any case, two people are unable to maintain their togetherness and one of them is still madly in love, it is typical and natural for them to be dejected, or even the two of them in certain cases. That is very normal. Love is a feeling that is associated with ecstasy, and when it fails, what do you expect? Despair. What love is not associated with in its natural form actually is hate when it fails, or even heartbreak. Love may hurt, okay, but it does not necessarily break. Love is not embarrassed when it fails. It is normal to be disappointed, like I said, and if there is anyone who feels otherwise, they do not understand what love is. That is an illusion. Familiarity actually makes it easy to mistake love in its natural form for love in its cultural orchestration, but the two are not the same. Love is liberating, even in the presence of extreme obsession. Love knows not to hate, even when it repeatedly fails.
What you're describing is love.
No, love is calm. Love is stability.
Love is a heart attack. Love is the best and worst of everything. Love is hating someone with every inch of your soul, yet spending even a minute without them is the worst pain you've ever known.
To love. Love is a condition so powerful. It may be that which holds the stars in the firmament. It may be that which pushes and urges the blood in the veins. Courage. You have to have courage to love somebody.
Only then can you say you are in fact capable of love. Hi, my name is Olawa and this is my YouTube channel, and here I talk about psychology and philosophy, and sometimes integrate the two together, and occasionally the two into social sciences. And please subscribe to my channel if these are areas or topics you are interested in. That will be highly appreciated. Yeah.